everybody. We're actually ready to get started on time. I'm Rebecca. I'm a product owner and project manager at the Wisconsin Center for Education Research, and I'll be moderating this session, the Job Rotation Program Information Session. So we'll start off by hearing from two of our Job Rotation Program managers, Carolyn, the Job Rotation Program Manager IT Track, and Sarah, the Director of Talent Pathways, who will tell us about the program. We'll also be hearing from four of our rotators, Eddie, Spencer, June, and David, who will introduce themselves throughout the presentation. There will be pauses for questions throughout the presentation. We encourage you to submit any questions you have during the presentation in the chat. We'll also have time at the end for Q&A. Now I will turn it over to Sarah and Carolyn to start the presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for having space with us today, and thank you, Rebecca and Amanda, for your support. My name is Sarah Hansen. I'm the Director of Talent Pathways. I work on the Talent Acquisition team in the Office of Human Resources. We'll all be introducing ourselves in a couple minutes here, so I will pass that on to everyone else along the way. Our goal of our time together is to give some background on the job rotation program itself, and then have space for the rotators to share out some of the work they've been doing in their rotations, and then dig into some of their group project work as well. I will pass it over to the next slide. There we go. Thanks, June. To give a little bit of a background on the job rotation program itself, the program has executive sponsorship with the CHRO, so Patrick Sheehan, and the VCFA, so Rob Kramer. When we added the IT track to the program, we have tremendous support from Todd Schechter as well, so appreciate that. The main objectives of the program is to recruit diverse talent and assist in building an inclusive environment on campus. So the program is a 2-year program. Rotators begin with a full 2-week orientation together, and then they go through 4 6-month rotations over the 2 years of the program to build a breadth and depth of knowledge in the tracks that the program has, and we'll go into that more in just a minute. I think one of the biggest draws for employees is that it is run as a cohort, so all of them start on the same day. We go through that orientation together to build that community, and then even though they go through their rotations individually at units across campus, we have lots of professional development and growth opportunities together as a cohort throughout those 2 years. All employees in the program are full-time academic staff employees and hold exempt positions. At the end of the 2 years of the program, the goal is for them to transition to permanent roles on campus. I will pass it over to Carolyn.
Testing. Okay, just wanted to make sure it worked. Hi, everyone. My name is Carolyn Kuzahara. I'm the Job Rotation Program Manager specifically for the IT track. And I will pass it over to the rotators to start the cycle of introduction, starting with David.
Hi guys, my name is David, part of the IT rotational program. So a little bit about me. I graduated from UW-Milwaukee with a degree in information science and technology back in 2023. And the reason why I joined the JRP was because even though I graduated, I honestly had no idea what I was going to do in the field of IT. There's just so much, and I felt like I just didn't know as much and I didn't have enough experience. So when I heard about the JRP, I was like, wow, this is perfect. So I went ahead and hopped on board. So my first rotation was at Do It Help Desk, where I troubleshoot a lot of issues, ranging from like really small stuff, like basic like setting changes, to like super unique cases, like that one guy that came in with like 203 pups on his computer. That was a fun one. A lot of unique cases. I learned so much. A lot of critical thinking was involved. My second rotation is at the School of Education at Merritt, where I work at as an IT support. So I'm currently working with my supervisor Ella, and we are currently working on the computer inventory and management project, where it is a project where we are going through to each department and making sure our database on our devices are all up to date and cleaned up. And I'll go ahead and pass the mic to whoever's next.
Back to me. We'll keep you guessing here. So we wanted to share a little bit about the history and growth of the program since its inception. The program began in January of 2020, so perfect timing there. We did a deliberate needs analysis at the time and began with 2 tracks of the program, human resources and finance. The first cohort of the program, cohort 1, had 4 employees, 2 in each track. The second cohort then started in the spring of 2021. They also had 4 employees. Cohort 3 is just completing the program, so they'll be transitioning to permanent roles in a few weeks here. There are 12 employees in that cohort, so 7 in human resources and 5 in finance. Let's see, the fall of 2022, we started having discussions about the addition of another track, and the IT track was added last summer with cohort 4. So these are the inaugural IT rotators, and we have 4 IT rotators with cohort 4, 7 finance rotators, and 7 HR rotators. So the graph shows a little bit of the history and then projection of growth for the program. So this August, we'll have 37 rotators across campus in different units, and cohort 3, those 12 employees will join permanent positions as well. Rotations begin every February and August, and they transition to those permanent roles every August as well. And then cohorts also overlap with each other by a year. So when cohort 4 begins the second year of the program, cohort 5 will be entering the program, cohort 3 will be transitioning off the program. So it's very cyclical. We do cast the broadest net that we can to recruit for the program. Our recruitment efforts, generally speaking, are in the fall of every year for that following summer start time. Handshake is the platform that we utilize the most for our recruitment efforts. It allows us to connect with about 1,300 schools across the nation in our recruitment efforts. For cohort 4's recruitment, my apologies, cohort 5 last fall, that'll be joining in a few weeks. For the 3 tracks and about 19 rotators joining, we had 326 applications for the program. Again, Handshake was that top. We had almost a third of our applicants come from that source. Another third, about a third from the jobs website, and then the third sourcing was through LinkedIn. We also try to utilize all of our technology to the best that we can, so we worked with the talent acquisition team and used a featured careers page, which is a new feature on our jobs.wisc.edu site. To assist in those recruitment efforts. We had almost 1,000 people view that page that funneled down to 45 people applying to the program. I will pass it over to Spencer.
Can everyone hear me? Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Spencer. I'm here with the job rotation program as well. I'm originally from the Milwaukee area. I'm from Cedarburg, so you may know it. It's got some fun festivals in the summertime and in the fall. I went to school here at UW-Madison. I graduated in the May class of 2023, and I studied computer sciences, data science, and then I did a certificate in graphic design. During my undergraduate career, I took up a student role working for SMPH Psychiatry. So in a sense, that was almost kind of my first rotation. I got really familiar with the systems here and everything. And I found the job rotation program through the 2023 CDIS career fair, Computer Data and Information Sciences career fair. So my rotations thus far have been with the CALS administrative IT team, where I worked with Al Nemec, right here in the audience. Hi, Al. And I supported the web operations, and I provided some IT support to our remote agriculture research stations, which was really awesome to see, because as a student, I had never known that we were so big, so spread out. So that was really neat. And presently, I am working for the School of Veterinary Medicine, and I am on their SVM North team. So we're building out a new hospital, nearly doubling in size. So I'm working on all the IT solutions in the new building, which is really cool. And I've gotten a lot of opportunities to work with networking, cool hardware opportunities, and it's been really fun. And that's all I have for you for my intro.
Thanks, Spencer. So what have we learned over the last few years of the job rotation program? One of the things that we really focus on is prioritizing employees to cultivate that engaging culture across campus. That begins with effective onboarding, even through the cultivation stage of that recruitment cycle, to ensure employees feel engaged, that they can thrive and feel valued on campus. We talk a lot in the program about communication and honoring all the perspectives that are in the program to make sure that we have the positive impact we can, and have a positive employee experience there. And then, as I mentioned, we try to leverage the tools to the best of our abilities. That's starting with that recruitment, with Handshake, as I mentioned, knowing that there's someone there that an applicant or a prospective employee can reach out to talk to about the program and about the position, really assists with that onboarding process, and then being able to connect with current rotators in that recruitment effort as well. And then some feedback that we've had from campus partners. So far, we've partnered with almost 70 different units across campus. What we've heard from them is they do appreciate the pathways for recruitment, recruiting and retaining talent, so they can really focus on their own strategic initiatives and priorities of the work, knowing that they have this pathway of employees that they can collaborate with. Rotators also come with lots of different lenses to the work. They have programmatic work that we do together as a cohort. They have their individual rotational experiences. They do group project work, which the rotators will talk about in a little bit. And we do a lot of deliberate professional development throughout the program as well. An example of that is going through the Fully Prepared to Lead certification that's offered through Learning and Talent Development. So all of those different exposures to different types of work and learning across campus really contributes to the work that they bring to those individual units in those rotations. I will pass it on to Eddie.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eddie Ganewick. I am originally from Madison. I just finished my 4 years at Oshkosh as of last year. And I graduated with a degree in information systems with an emphasis in computer science. I really liked the degree, but I felt that it was about an inch deep and a mile wide. I got a lot of experience, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with it. And so I found the job rotation program on Handshake. Looks like a perfect fit, and I really liked that they put a lot of effort and emphasis into the professional development and other ways to improve just everything. So then got on, and my first rotation was at Tech Zone within LNS. Had a really good experience there. I did a lot of desktop support, other various help desk support as well, and they let me take on a lot of projects, just whatever ones interested me, and I was able to create a Canvas course for training student techs, and set up computer labs, and really just take on whatever interested. So then I made a huge transition in this next rotation, onto my second rotation, which was at Wisconsin Energy Institute, more specifically part of the Great Lakes Bioenergy Research Center. And there I now do Ruby on Rails development, and that has been fully in depth. They let me get my hands on with everything, and it's been such a great learning experience to really have that breadth of experience so far already. So looking forward to the future rotations. And with that, I will pass on.
Perfect. So kind of a common theme you've been hearing through everybody is that Professional development is a pretty key component of the program here and something that rotators seem to benefit from and enjoy a lot. So like I said, professional development deliberately embedded into the program. So one of the things that we follow is the 70-20-10 model that's done through UW-Madison's Learning and Talent Development, just the way of how to grow in your career and learn in general. So that 70% is more of that hands-on experience from your typical day-to-day work and hands-on training. That 20% is more of that networking and human connection, meeting people, and then that 10% would be those specific professional developments like taking a course, going to conferences and such. So we do incorporate all of those components into the job rotation program. So the 70%, that hands-on training is while they go through all these rotations, they're getting that breadth and depth of experience and learning hands-on what the work is like, what is it like to be in these different units and roles. And then that 20%, they're also getting that networking connection clearly by being able to meet such a wide variety of people in all these units and continue to connect with them after they've finished in their rotation there. And then the 10% would be that professional development. So like Sarah mentioned, they do get their fully prepared to lead certification by the end of the program. Also, we do plain language training and other different trainings mixed in there as well. And then something that we recently added to the program is our alumni network. So these are for rotators who have successfully completed the program and are here on campus in their permanent roles. So in that alumni network, one of the components is mentorship. So they'll be able to mentor current rotators going through the program, being able to provide the additional assistance of what it's like to transition between rotations, what it's like to look for that role after completion, and just provide additional support of being a new employee on campus. So with the alumni network, we have that mentorship. Those are in small groups. So year 1 rotators, year 2 rotators, and then an alumni are all together. So you get kind of a different experience, different perspectives to add into that. And then on top of that, our mentors are also invited to attend conferences with us, attend professional developments with us, attend cohort meetings, and continue to be involved in like the recruitment process as well with the program. So we don't just toss them out and leave them. We like to keep them involved in the program and hear from them as well. And we already mentioned fully prepared to lead certification is embedded in the program. And then lastly, all of the rotators do create their own portfolio as a way to track every professional development that they've done. Really good way to look back at everything they've taken, what are the key takeaways, and then also when they're looking for that permanent role, they can clearly see, here's all the courses I've taken, and here's the experience that I have. And I will pass it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Carolyn. Another thing that was added to the program with cohort 3 was the concept of group project work. So group projects, generally speaking, are within the first year of the program. It's another way for rotators to understand what it's like to work in higher ed in their track and to get a sense of all the different types of environments across campus. We know UW-Madison is very decentralized, and so the group projects expose them to different knowledge and skill sets to build beyond their rotational work. So within the first year of the program, rotators focus about 10% of their time towards a project that would kind of move the dial on a strategic initiative and have that campus-wide impact. Historically speaking, we did track-specific group projects. So the HR rotators focused on an HR group project, finance on finance, and IT on IT. And the rotators are going to be digging into their group project work here in just a couple minutes. When we are thinking of the evolution of the project, or of the job rotation program, and what makes sense to continue to evolve across campus, the concept of cross-functional team projects has come to play. So we hear anecdotally and deliberately in many different environments and communications with the job rotation program how important cross-functional work is. So we're exploring taking the pool of rotators in cohort 5 entering campus this summer, and within the first year of the program breaking them into subsets of groups according to the needs of specific group project work. So we're exploring different opportunities right now for group projects. That's another way to engage in the program, so feel free to connect with Carolyn or myself if you'd like to learn more about what that might look like. Group projects are part of the strategic initiative of the job rotation program as a subset of talent acquisition within the Office of Human Resources. So we've been very deliberate on looking at all of the tools and framework to support that group project work, and have updated that with framework, charters, an intake form, and all of the tools used to keep track of the group project work. The job rotation program does a lot of the operational support, kind of that project management support for group project work. And then we do need to partner with subject matter experts according to what the needs are for that group project. So again, the IT rotators, I don't want to steal their thunder. They're digging into that in a little bit. Finance, we work with Natalie Fegestad, David Hanma, Leah Erickson, our SMEs for group project work. For the HR rotators, we're working with the Compensation Center of Excellence at this moment. So again, group projects really do lend a different skill sets that they're building. We go through project training for that group project work as well, and it offers them a different lens of moving the dial on some needs and priorities on campus. The cool thing about group project work as well is that they bring that knowledge into their rotational units. They also bring the perspective and needs of rotational units back to that group project work. So it's a really neat way to kind of break down some of the silos of communication that we might have on campus. I'll pass it on to June.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'm June. I'm originally from New York. I went to school in Minnesota. And I worked previously as a software developer. I've worked in the sectors of education and health tech and a little bit of business and marketing tech. And I joined UW through this program to get a sense. I've done a lot of work on small teams or even independently, and getting a sense of development or work in IT outside of what I would be most comfortable with development. And for that reason, I joined the program, and also to meet great, interesting people. For my first rotation, I was working within Do It in enterprise business systems. So I was on the marketing automation team. So I was part of the team that trains a bunch of people to use our marketing automation system, our central marketing automation systems. And some other projects that I worked on related to that is we're trying to roll out SMS as a offering to anyone on campus that wants to use it. So I was part of the process of piloting this and making some documentation, looking into our policies and kind of navigating all of that stuff, since IT is there's so many elements and so many people we need to convince and get on board with policies and whatnot to move projects like that forward. Currently, I'm with the Center for Education Research, and I'm a developer. I've been working on some interesting projects in that field, coming from having done some education tech projects before. It's been interesting to see how the team that I'm working with operates, and it's been really great to work with them. I'm going to introduce also, that's a little bit about me. I'm going to introduce now the project that has been so teased for the time being. Yeah, let me just a brief overview, and of course my peers will also share a little bit more. So the main idea of this project is to convey our activity of intellectual property and innovation at UW, since there's a lot of research and intellectual property released as a result of that research. So one initiative that we were inspired by University of Washington, the other UW, is to map this out, make it really accessible and easy for anyone who's maybe interested in doing research with us to check out what parts of campus are really active, and that way people are more likely to get in touch with us if they can do that. We partnered with, we've collaborated with the DAPIR and the VCFA as a part of this project, and as well as WARF, where we've gotten a lot of this data from, or all this data from, actually. So it's been fun to collaborate. This is U-Washington's. Pay attention. You're about to see a way better version later on. So I'll let David talk about that more.
Thank you, June. As sort of June's. Hello? There we go. Put it a little closer to me. So as June sort of talked about earlier, the purpose of this project is to create a web interactive tool that showcases the impact of universities' IPs portrayed economically and socially throughout the UW region. We hope that companies and just other groups can see this map and then be influenced to sort of either donate or to partner up with UW-Madison to continue research with the university. We also want it to be a tool for WARF and the campus to use to sort of explore the different possibilities with the IP, like fostering support, collaboration, and reporting with funding and agencies. Go ahead and
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about kind of the early stages of our project. So we were kind of given at the beginning a big, giant data set by WARF with about 10,000 entries that we needed to clean up because this data was populated with open text boxes. And so we had our work cut out for us. So what we did was we kind of started by preparing a data set with Tableau so that we could create a standardized address dictionary based on the unique combination between two of the fields that we were provided, which are kind of the overall department. So that would be maybe CALS or maybe SMPH, and then the sub-department, so maybe psychiatry, whatever, from SMPH, the smaller units within the overall. And so once we had that, we started populating addresses and standardizing to one central location for each unit because we were given an address, but we were given an inventor address, which may or may not have been where the central unit is based. So we cleaned that up and we took care of the inconsistencies, missing data, all that stuff. And not only that, but we had to filter out data from non-campus units. The data set that we were provided contained stuff from all over the world and non-UW groups, other universities, businesses. And it was, a lot to clean up. And we had our peer partners, Mernez, who received an award today, and Haley from the Vice Chancellor of Financial Administration. And so we reviewed with them our data cleanse and moving on to what we produced with Tableau.
So here's the very first iteration of our we went through all this data, we cleaned it up, which in and of itself was quite a task with the size of the data set. And many of us, at least I can speak for myself, having to being relatively new to campus, there was a lot of structural, organizational sort of things that I personally, for example, needed to wrap my head around to be able to make sure that we could get the data set prepared in a way that made sense for campus. And we have this visualization here. Here's campus. And if you've, in case you've not seen it, here it is. We have plotted here just some points. This is within Tableau. If you mouse over that, you can see each of these points represents a building on campus. And within Tableau, This is just an image, but if you were to mouse over it, you can see exactly how many counts of intellectual property they've released within the time frame of the data set that we have. One thing that we needed to do, as Spencer mentioned, was create a dictionary of addresses of campus buildings because we had no native way to plot points on a map because that's not, it's just not something that, it's not something innately available that we can plot a point given certain coordinates based on just the address. So what we did is once we had a standard address of a standard dictionary of addresses for buildings, we could then go in and figure out where the coordinates are on the map for each of these buildings, and then we extended our data set to allow us to plot points using that. Oh, and then we made it pretty as well, I should mention. We got some data from our partner Mernaz regarding the shape actually of these buildings. And these are this is polygon data, which is pretty much, rather than having just one point to reference as far as coordinates go to plot for each building, we got, we created lines using those coordinates on the map. So right here you can see, for example, for the Pyle Center, where we are right now, we have a latitude and a longitude, and we have a bunch of latitude and longitudes, and then we have a point order, which we can use to kind of draw a line between those points of those coordinate points. And doing that, we can draw all sorts of pictures representing buildings on campus. That way we can, instead of just having these dots, which are kind of maybe kind of ambiguous, we can start to actually see the campus as we would expect or that we know. Just under the hood, what we did was we made these. We had some of these. Some of these were made by Dapier that we had pre-made polygons from that we were able to use, and we pretty much connected them via an ID, as you can sort of see here. We have a column with the subgroup of, that is, what's the entity on campus that released the intellectual property, and then we linked that to the actual map data. So under the hood, we can plot all of this. I'm gonna give it to Eddie a little bit to talk a little bit more about what we did.
Yeah, definitely. So as we were creating the link between our data and the Dapper provided data to get that polygon data to really show in our heat map, we created that link, but we noticed we were checking each building as we were going down the list, because we literally went on Google, looked up the address, found the address on the Tableau visualization. That's how we got the ID and created the link. So it was a very manual process. And so when we found a building that had an address that wasn't included in the Dapper data set originally, we had to go through and add it manually ourselves. And how we did that, well, at first we tried to take tools, and with those tools, we were hoping that we could just insert an address and it would give us the polygon data. Turns out it's not that easy. We ended up having to, there was just no data out there that we could access. So we found this site, geojson.io, and we can literally go in the map, make a custom polygon over there, and out there gives us our coordinates. So once we get those coordinates, we can just copy and paste them into the Excel file with the Dapper data, increase the line point count, and it adds it to the map just like that. So finally, we had a somewhat clean data set, and we had a data set that also merged in with that polygon data. So that leads me to the next slide, which is our more finalized visualization. What you see here is definitely not what we saw right away just by throwing the data set into Tableau. We had a lot of cleaning up to do. At first, it looked like just the Dapper data set, with all the separate colored buildings. But whenever you clicked on a certain building, you would just get a giant list of data. And it was just very hard to read. You couldn't really navigate it well, and it didn't really flow well. So we decided just to simplify everything for now and then start building it up later, which I'll expand upon in a little bit. So what we did here is we first removed any building that did not have a disclosure tied to it in the relationship. So that already filtered out things like Camp Randall and other buildings over here. And then we went ahead and added the heat map sort of effect where you can see the coloring, the heavier colored are the heavier disclosures. And then we went ahead and also, whenever you click on these points now, we only make it so you can see the name of the building and how many disclosures there are. We still have all the other data easily accessible to us, and we're doing things with it currently. So this last phase of the project, we have a basic template right now that works really well for us. So we're building more views. We want it to be more customizable, so where you can filter by department, you can filter by subject or things like that, and you get different views for that. We're also working with accessibility specialists because Tableau is notoriously difficult for accessibility reasons. So we're making sure we get the best versions and iterations of this as possible. And then as we're sort of closing out this project and building more and more views, we are documenting all these processes that we did so we can either give recommendations to WARF for how they collect data and also have easily accessible information about how to make a Tableau map for other campus initiatives that can be a big project later. So that's all the work we've been doing with our group project. I'm sure we'd be happy to talk more about anything Tableau, data cleaning, you name it. We'd all be happy to talk. But with that said, I will pass it over to the program managers.
Thanks, Eddie. I mentioned previously that at the end of the 2 years of the program, employees are eligible to be waived into permanent roles on campus, and I wanted to just highlight and spend a minute there. Throughout the 2 years of the program, you know, the employees are building their network on campus. They're kind of testing out, being exposed to different things so they can understand what might be the right next step for them after the 2 years of the program are complete. They've been through that equitable recruitment process and hiring processes. They've been fully vetted with the program. So that means after the 2 years of the program, they're eligible to use a waiver PVL for a unit that might have a need at that time. Again, that's a benefit to those hiring units since they don't have to go through a traditional recruitment process at the time, and they know they're getting an employee that's coming with lots of different exposure and perspectives and experience across campus. I'll pass it on to Carolyn.
All right, and just to slowly close us out, here's multiple different ways you can partner with the program. So one of the ways, of course, is to host a rotator. Just a reminder, it would be for that 6 months that you'd have a rotator. Depending on how far they are into the program, you might get someone who's just starting, or you might get someone who's a year and a half into the program, just depending on the work that your unit does. You can for sure tell us, this is more advanced work, we would prefer somebody later on in the program, and that's something that we can accommodate. If you're interested, our website does have a host interest form that you can fill out, and we would reach out and contact you. Otherwise, of course, reach out to Sarah or myself. You can also hire an alumni, just like what Sarah was saying. It's a great process. If you have a vacancy, you're hiring someone who has 2 years of experience in 4 different units on campus. And you can skip the recruitment process. It's a lot quicker of a hiring process. You can also engage with a group project. So if your unit maybe has a project that's been pushed back, it needs to move forward, or you just need more manpower for it, that's something that the rotators can help with. And just as Sarah was saying, we're starting to do cross-functional group projects. So if you want someone from HR, finance, and IT, that's something we could accommodate, or maybe just an IT project overall. So again, if you're interested, feel free to reach out to us. And then last thing is, maybe none of these are quite your path, but if you want to just be an advocate and share it with others who may be interested, maybe you hear that they would like to have extra help, or maybe they have an upcoming vacancy, so hosting a rotator might be a good idea, or maybe group projects, just sharing out the word. Again, we're fairly new-ish with just 4 years, so we want to continue to grow, especially with the IT track just starting this past year. We want to continue to reach out to campus partnerships and create those so we can hear more about the IT community. And then lastly, just to close this out, we are open for any questions in chat or in person as well.
Yeah, and we already have a question in the chat, very specifically for June about the marketing automation. Which SMS library?
Okay, we worked through we have a third party vendor or third party sort of consultant firm, marketing firm that we've worked with, and we worked through. We're actually maybe still. I have since departed from that role, unfortunately. So I know that we worked. Our marketing automation platform is Oracle's Eloqua platform, which does recently have SMS functionality. We're also working. We have a current solution that's through Cinch, if that helps, which is also just it's a carrier that offers an SMS API that we are currently using, if that helps.
All right, any other questions in the room or in chat?
Can we expand this program to be available to full-time employees who might want to experience the rotation?
It's not the first time we've heard a comment like that. I think it is a great opportunity to kind of break down some of the silos of work and understand what's happening across campus. So that is taken in, and I will share that with leadership. And we're always kind of exploring different iterations and what makes sense to meet the needs across campus. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
I think actually if you just like speak up, I think the mics are good for hearing. Or you can, I can give you this.
So how are these funded? Or is this like centrally funded so the units aren't paying the salary during that time?
Correct. Centrally funded through the executive sponsorship, and then they also come with their own technology. So they come with their laptop monitors, docking station, keyboard, mouse. We really try to break down or take down any barriers or hurdles to host a rotator, so you can just focus on the work that you want them to do, and we help on the administrative side.
Great, thank you.
And regarding the computers, Scott Winger here from Do It Technical Services. I've worked with several job rotators, and first of all, I absolutely love the program. I think it's vital to the healthy university, so welcome aboard, people. It's lovely here. But the problems that I've been working with the job rotators involves their computers. And so, for example, I had a customer, a rotator who started in OHR, and then she went to the international division, for example, and that's Ixnay, so I'm wondering, I mean, technically there are all kinds of problems with that, making it very challenging for a successful compute experience. So I'm hoping that the two directors of this program maybe will reach out to me, Scott Winger, and we can talk about the challenges that I ran into and explore options to make sure that the compute experiences of these rotators is as seamless for them as it is for the help desk people who need to get them printing, get them accessing to these network drives when there's absolutely no way to get that done if they don't have a computer that's set up correctly. So I'm hoping maybe you'll reach out so we can talk about the specifics.
Yeah, appreciate that. Starting any new employee with access to the right access and to the platforms and making sure everything is set up technologically is somewhat of a challenge, and that's every 6 months we're dealing with that with the rotators. One of the things that we have done to hopefully assist in that process is to give the employees $0 appointments in each of the units. So that helps quite a bit with the access to the different platforms that they need to do the work. But I'm always open to learning about different ways to support that transition. So I appreciate that.
Great, glad to hear it.
This question is more for the rotators. You've talked a lot about the work that you did with the different teams, but I'm curious how you guys have felt about the social transition between work teams, because it is very hard to start a new job. It is very hard to start a new job every 6 months with a completely new team, new, habits that you have to learn, maybe some new quirks, completely different personalities. So how have you guys felt handling that?
I can take that. So right about the time that we did our first rotation, or when we transitioned from our first rotation to our second rotation, we had the opportunity to do a professional development through the Office of Human Resources, and it was called Thriving in a Time of Change. And so that definitely provided a lot of helpful tips and techniques to kind of get us through. Obviously, it wasn't easy, especially we've only all done it once so far. But I anticipate that our next transition will be a little bit easier, having had the experience with one. And yeah, does anyone else have anything?
I would add that one of the, even though we're changing we're changing our work assignment often. One thing that doesn't change is the group that we that we entered the program with. There are more than just the four of us. There are there are quite a few of us, if you as you can see in the picture. And I think one way that we can manage those changes is that we're all going through them, and we at least have that sort of support system through each other, as well as through our program managers who are also sort of part of our little cohort. So we navigate those in that sort of way, even though it's kind of tough to prepare necessarily for wherever we're going to go. We at least all have that experience, for better or for worse, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree with everything June's saying. I just have one small little thing to add. The job rotation program does such a great job of checking in with rotators, and we always have biweekly cohort meetings. So that's when we actually get together with the cohort, and then also we have biweekly program manager check-ins. So you have a chance to really get coached or get guided through issues or things like that. And I know that's insanely helpful the first couple of weeks starting out, because you're still not sure what's going on, but you still have that constant of the job rotation program and having some assurance from the program itself. So it does sort of empower you to just, go for it, and knowing you have a program, like an entire set of people that have your back. And that's the coolest part of this program.
No, they said everything perfect.
We have a question from online. Can rotators be placed in fully remote positions, or do they need to be in roles with in-person office spaces?
Yeah, so for each rotation, we talk to the rotators that they need to adapt to the work environments that those units are used to. So it can be the gamut from fully remote positions to hybrid work environments to some units that are fully on campus still. We do have an in-person aspect from the program level. So for those cohort meetings, a lot of the professional development for group project work, that's in-person time as well. So they know that they need to be flexible and adaptable to adjust to each unit's environment.
Just a comment. I'm really intrigued and wondering if, now this has been around for a few years, if the program might develop or think about developing guides to units, maybe not for, who are going to have folks who are on this rotation program, but a guide to how you supported, early career or new staff with those check-ins or these kinds of things, and what things that you found helpful, and to sort of share that part of the experience, I think could be really valuable to a lot of departments.
Thanks so much for that comment and suggestion. And we try to get some of that communication out on campus. We take opportunities to present at HR reps, for people who are focusing on recruitment efforts for different units. We partner a lot with the Learning and Talent Development team in the Office of Human Resources. We would not be the same program that we are if we didn't collaborate with them on the trainings and developments that they offer. But I appreciate that comment, and we'll certainly take that back to the core team for further discussion.
Yeah, just to follow up, I mean, I'm not personally a supervisor, although I do onboarding things from the IT side, that perhaps those conversations with HR, but that's not who's actually doing the onboarding of you know, whether it's supervisors and that kind of thing. And so thinking about how to get to that point, to the actual, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sarah, I'm going to send you a link to two documents that are for new employees. One's a guidelines document and another one is a resources document. So I think that you might want to have a look at those, and maybe you'll find them good enough to make a part of your curriculum for the rotators. The people who put those documents together about 3 years ago did a magnificent job, and we just updated those in the January, February timeframe. So I'll just send you a chat with those links.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, we have one from the chat that I can read out. It's the point that hosting a rotator is more productive than students with the nearly full-time commitment with the team. Eddie has been with us for a few months and has been a very productive member of the team as a junior dev. And I will say I'm on the team with June, and exact same experience where, you know, having somebody full-time has been really helpful. We will miss him.
And they're not students, they're not interns, they are full-time academic staff, so it's a different level of work.
Just one thing for the developers of the Tableau visualization there. One of the things that you're going to learn here is that this university is absolutely enormous. And it turns out a colleague of Lindsay's and mine created a Tableau visualization which used the actual official polygons for the buildings. Now, my point isn't to point out that these exist. My point is to point out how vast this university is. It's absolutely huge. And so when you're working in your different rotations, make sure to ask, because no one knows everything. And if you do need those official polygons, see me afterwards. I can connect you to the people that have them.
So I'll just second a lot of the comments that were made already. It's been incredibly rewarding to have someone as part of the program on board with our team as well as we had at this in Cal's. So thank you, Spencer, for all your work. But as a bigger point, I think it'd be interesting to know, as the four of you already, just the four of you already have had so many different experiences on this campus, only on what your first rotation, now your second rotation. I think the most important thing we all want to know is which IT location has the best treats. Do they have donuts, cookies, and which one is it? And we need to learn from this. So if you could share, that'd be great.
I hope Ryan Schwen sees this, because I mean, once a month we would as a team, we were mostly remote, but once a month as a team we would go out to just whatever, a good restaurant, or just a nice restaurant, have lunch together, and kind of work over lunch, and take notes, supervise, no. But I think our team was definitely small, which made that possible, but that was just one. I think that was definitely a treat. It was great, great to do. I love WCER as well. Okay, Rebecca.
Noted.
I love WCER.
Yeah, Cal's wins on the treat front for me. Yeah.
Man, this is a lot of pressure. Both is good.
WEI definitely wins for me. We have tea time twice a month. Just go down, network with some people, and have some snacks and coffee and tea. And then we also have a dedicated Slack channel for just talking about lunch options. So a lot of foodies over there.
On that note, there are a lot of snacks downstairs on the first floor, so on your way out, please go get some of those. Do we have more questions? Oh,
They have ice cream sandwiches downstairs. I don't know if they're all gone or not, but
Like I see where this is going. Thank you all for presenting. This was very informative. Who should they, do we probably, yep, job rotation program up there on the website and rotation program at ohr.wisc.edu if you have further questions and want to connect with them. All right, thanks everybody.